Welcome to our channel. Over 1,000 years ago, there was a remarkable man who prophesied what would happen to each successive pope after him. However, what captured everyone's attention the most was his prediction about the final pope, as it was believed that the end of days would arrive after this pope. In the year 1139 AD, Pope Innocentius II received a delegation of Irish archbishop at the Apostolic Palace. Both sides engaged in pleasant conversations, and the Pope highly praised the piety and cultivation of the Irish archbishop. The archbishop suddenly stood up, took 2 steps forward, and whispered, "Holy Father, I have something very important to offer you." Pope Innocentius II, puzzled, asked the archbishop, "Archbishop, what is this thing you speak of?" The Irish archbishop spoke softly but solemnly, "On my way to Rome, God showed me events that will unfold in the future. I faithfully recorded them and offer them to you." Upon hearing that it was a divine revelation about the future, Pope Innocentius II immediately straightened up and asked, "What did our Lord Jesus foretell?" The archbishop replied that what is written on the scroll are the various signs regarding the future Holy Fathers on the Holy See, meaning this is the list of future popes. The archbishop continued, saying that God revealed only this much. "And I, his servant, dare to record only this much." Pope Innocentius II unrolled the scroll, and upon closer inspection, he noticed that the list on the scroll was not very long. Furrowing his brows, he felt a weight on his heart, sighed, and said, "Alas, regardless of how long the Church may endure, as long as it is the will of our Lord Jesus, we shall follow and uphold it." Pope Innocentius II raised his hand once again, signaling for his personal secretary to step forward. The secretary solemnly took the scroll and placed it in the Pope's private archives. And this is the prophecy we are going to discuss today, the end of the Catholic Church and the coming of the end times in this prophecy of the popes, and the Irish archbishop who presented the prophecy is the central figure of our story today, Saint Malachy. Let's begin by exploring the life of Saint Malachy, the originator of the prophecy of the popes. In the early 12th century, Malachy was born into a wealthy family in Ireland. However, from a young age, he was fascinated by the life of an ascetic monk. While this interest may seem peculiar to modern eyes, it was not uncommon for individuals to have strong religious inclinations, especially in eras marked by intense religious fervor. At the age of 25, Malachy was noticed by the bishop of the diocese and became a priest, overseeing weddings and funerals. By the age of 29, he became the abbot of a monastery, and at 30 he was appointed as a bishop. During that time, becoming a clergy member was an enviable achievement, something that most people could not attain. It was also seen as a career path, if one progressed upwards. It meant attaining a prestigious social status and a good income. Therefore, to onlookers, Malachy's rapid advancement seemed like a charmed life. However, Malachy's heart was set on continuing his ascetic life in the monastery and had no desire to hold any position within the church. Despite this, the Archbishop of Armagh in Ireland chose him as his successor. One day when Malachy was 38 years old, he had a dream in which the Archbishop of Armagh handed him the seal and the sash. Upon waking, he understood that this likely meant that the Archbishop would not live much longer. As expected, within a few days, a messenger delivered the authorization letter from the Archbishop, and Malachy became the new Archbishop. Malachy was diligent and responsible, and the diocese flourished under his leadership. However, at this point, he recalled his dream of being an ascetic monk and contemplated resigning. The Pope, however, disagreed this time. It was rare to find someone capable of organizing the Irish diocese so efficiently. How could they let him leave just like that? Therefore, the Pope dispatched a special envoy to Ireland to canonize Saint Malachy, allowing him to continue overseeing all the Catholic affairs in Ireland. However, Malachy was unwilling to accept the canonization, as directly refusing the Pope's envoy would have been seen as particularly disrespectful. Therefore, he decided to personally travel to Rome to meet the Pope and express his intentions. In the year 1137, Malachy led a group of monks on the journey to Rome to meet the Pope. It was during this journey that Malachy miraculously gained the ability to make prophecies. One morning, as Malachy gazed at the rising sun, he suddenly saw a vision. Hurrying back to his room, he recorded this vision. It was a prophecy about the future fate of Ireland. The prophecy stated that Ireland would be under English rule for over 700 years, but the Irish Church would remain unchanged, steadfast in its faith in God. After the end of English domination, Ireland would gain independence, and England would face punishment. Ultimately, Ireland would help England restore its faith in God. This prophecy, when viewed today, still holds a significant accuracy, although it was framed from the perspective of Ireland at that time. The first monarch of the English House of Plantagenet, Henry II, in the year 1169, responded to an invitation from the deposed Irish ruler Mac Murrough and led English forces to land in Ireland, gaining control over the eastern region of Ireland. Over the next few centuries, the English continually expanded their influence in Ireland, often resorting to conquest. By the year 1603, England had established complete control over Ireland. Through the Act of Union signed in 1801, England legally solidified its control over Ireland. Ireland officially became part of the United Kingdom and the British Empire. From 1919 to 1921, after World War I, Ireland erupted into a war of independence. In 1922, Ireland regained independence and became a free state, and in 1937, it officially became a republic. From 1169, when Henry II landed in Ireland with English troops, until 1922, when Ireland effectively regained independence, it was under some or complete control of England for a total of 753 years. This aligns quite well with St. Malachy's prophecy of over 700 years. The prophecy also suggests that there will be significant changes in the Catholic Church in England. While the local church in Ireland will remain unchanged, this indeed happened. In the 16th century, Henry VIII of the Tudor dynasty, in his quest to divorce and have a male heir, broke with the Catholic Church. He declared England's separation from Catholicism and established an independent Church of England, with the king himself as its leader, while the archbishop only managed the daily affairs. This is the origin of the Anglican Church in England, also known as the Church of England, which aligns with the changes foretold in the prophecy of the Church by St. Malachy. However, the latter part of the prophecy suggests that ultimately Ireland would help England restore its faith. As for the form this restoration of faith might take, whether it involves reinstating the position of the Catholic Church or occurs in a different manner, this remains a question that can only be answered in the future. Returning to the story of Malachy, with his team of monks, he set out from Ireland, crossed the sea, traversed mountains and rivers, and after several months of travel, finally arrived in Rome. Gazing upon this city, the sacred capital in his mind, Malachy was filled with myriad emotions. It is said that on that very night, he once again received divine inspiration, truly beginning to compose the prophecies of the popes. A few days later, when he arrived at the papal residence to meet the Pope, the scene we mentioned at the beginning of today's story unfolded, where he presented the prophecy to Pope Innocentius II. A few days after that, Malachy set off on his journey home. Malachy later displayed many miracles and passed away in 1148. Eventually, he was canonized by the Catholic Church and buried at Clairvaux Abbey. Now, let's focus on the prophecy of the popes. This prophecy was kept in the private secret archives of the popes, sealed from 1140 until 1559, remaining untouched for over 400 years before it was rediscovered. In the 16th century, the local historian Arnold Wyon was granted access to the secret archives of the popes to conduct research. At that time, he was working on a book titled Lignum Vitae, Tree of Life. By chance, he He stumbled upon the prophecy of the popes in the archives, which astonished him, leading him to immediately begin studying it. In 1559, Wyon's book was officially published, sparking widespread discussion and debate. Many scholars joined the ranks of those interpreting the prophecy. Wyon claimed that the prophecy originated from the 12th century Saint Malachi, and that his interpretations in the book were not original but were derived from his contemporary historian, Alphonsus Chaconius. The prophecy consists of a total of 112 lines written in short Latin phrases, with each line believed to represent a different pope, detailing the characteristics of 112 successive popes. Due to the cryptic nature of the prophecy, experts spent 400 years studying and categorizing these descriptions to provide a comprehensive interpretation. The first category consists of prophecies based on the coats of arms of the pope or his opponents. For example, Pope Paul VI, who reigned from 1963 to 1978, is described in the prophecy as Flos Florum, flower of flowers, which refers to his coat of arms that features a lily. Pope Pius IX, who reigned from 1846 to 1878, is described in the prophecy as Crux de Cruce, the cross from the cross. Interpreters believe that this refers to the coat of arms of his opponent, King Victor Emmanuel II of Italy, which is indeed represented as the cross from cross. During the reign of Pope Pius IX, Victor Emmanuel II unified Italy and annexed the Papal States, leaving only the Vatican City to the Holy See. Pius IX was deeply distressed by this event and considered himself a prisoner within the Vatican. Despite the efforts of the cardinals in Europe to console him, reminding him that Jesus had prepared a heavenly kingdom for him rather than an earthly one, Pius IX was unable to find solace. He secluded himself within the Vatican and ultimately passed away due to depression. The second category of interpretations in the prophecy points out future popes based on their significant deeds and purposes. For example, Pope Pius VI, who reigned from 1775 to 1799, was described in the prophecy as a peregrinus apostolicus, apostolic pilgrim. This pope was taken captive by the French revolutionary forces from Rome to Turin, then crossed the Alps and was imprisoned in France, where he eventually died. This sequence of events led to his designation as the apostolic pilgrim, due to his tumultuous journey and ultimate death in France. The third category of prophecies identifies the source of the pope based on his faction or origin. For example, Pope Benedict XI, who reigned from 1303 to 1304, is described in the prophecy as Concionator Paterius, preacher of Paterius. This is because Benedict XI's birth name was Nicholas, and he was a member of the order of preachers of the Paterians, which is why he is referred to as the preacher of Paterius. Or the fourth category of prophecies is based on the positions held by the Pope before his election. For example, Pope Pius II, who reigned from 1458 to 1464, is described in the prophecy as De Capra et Albergo, De Capra and Albergo. This description refers to Pius II's previous roles as the secretary to Cardinal Capranica and Cardinal Albergati before he was elected pope. The fifth category of prophecies is based on the pope's last title before his election. For example, Pope Lucius III, who reigned from 1181 to 1185, is described in the prophecy as Lux in ostio, a light in the door. This is because, before his election, he served as a cardinal in Ostia, which is located at the mouth of the Tiber River and serves as a port for Rome, thus making it a light in the door of Rome. The sixth category of prophecies is based on core events and historical influences to predict the pope. For example, Pope Paul V, who reigned from 1605 to 1621, is described in the prophecy as gens perversa, wicked race. Since the pope is just one person, how could he be considered a race, let alone an wicked one? Therefore, experts interpret that wicked here does not refer to his personal characteristics but rather to the historical events he experienced. In 1618, one of the bloodiest wars in European history, the 30 Years' War, broke out. The causes of the war are quite complex, and I won't go into detail here, but one reason was the confrontation between Protestant forces and the traditional Catholic Church. The papacy hoped to completely destroy the Protestant influence in Central Europe through this war. However, the outcome was devastating for all parties involved, and Protestant forces firmly established themselves in Europe. From the perspective of the traditional Catholic Church, these Protestant forces represented the wicked race. All right, after introducing the prophecy of the popes and the ways in which it predicts the future, we will now jump directly to what many consider the most important part, the 112th pope yet to come. This is because this pope will be the last on the list, implying that after this particular pope, a fundamental change will occur within the Catholic Church. Because the formal name of the Catholic Church is the Roman Catholic Church, or the Universal Church, characterized by a hierarchical structure led by the Pope. If there were no Pope, regardless of how the Church might continue to exist, we could say that Catholicism has come to an end and no longer exists. This would be a significant event that hasn't occurred in 2,000 years. Everyone is speculating about who the key figure of the 112th Pope is, and how he will usher in the end times. The prophecy states, "In the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church there will reign Peter the Roman, who will feed his flock amid many tribulations, after which the seven-hilled city will be destroyed and the dreadful judge will judge the people." Experts interpret that the seven-hilled city, mentioned in the prophecy, refers to the most prosperous city in the world, which, during Saint Malachi's time, specifically meant Rome. The ancient Roman city was built on 7 hills. Hence the name, the Seven-Hilled City. This name also represented the understanding of the most prosperous city in the world at that time. The Peter mentioned in the prophecy refers to one of Jesus' disciples, Simon Peter, from Israel. He was also the first leader of the church, who was persecuted in Rome and crucified. This is significant because it relates to the belief that St. Peter's Basilica is located over the site of St. Peter's grave. Pope Francis, who ascended to the papacy in 2013, is exactly the 112th pope and is currently the reigning pope. Researchers have been closely examining him to determine whether he is the Petrus Romanus, Peter the Roman, mentioned in the prophecy. Francis has been in office for 11 years, and at nearly 88 years old, there has yet to be any sign of persecution against the Roman Church. Therefore, there has been no need for him to help his faithful through tribulations. So, could Francis be the Peter the Roman, mentioned in the prophecy? Based on his current actions, it seems rather unlikely. However, since he is still alive and in office, it is difficult to predict what may happen in the future, and a conclusion cannot be drawn just yet. If he is the one, then unfortunately, persecution against the Roman Church will be forthcoming, and the end times for Rome will follow. If he is not, then who could the Peter the Roman, mentioned in the prophecy be? Some scholars believe that the Peter mentioned in the prophecy may differ from our understanding of the current pope. He could be a future figure who will establish the church, possibly coming after the end of Catholicism and during a great tribulation. This individual would strengthen people's faith in God and, after the final judgment, establish a new Orthodox faith. Currently, the global population of Catholics has exceeded 1.3 billion, spread across all countries. To launch a comprehensive persecution against Catholicism like that of ancient Rome would require unified action from all nations in the world. In fact, this has become quite unlikely to occur. Therefore, the prophecy's mention of the last pope nurturing his flock through many tribulations seems quite unlikely to occur at this time. This person also seems unlikely to be the current 112th Pope, Francis. Additionally, the British medium Parker has released a video prophecy stating that he foresees Pope Francis potentially retiring for health reasons between 2024 and 2025, marking the beginning of the end for Catholicism as foretold in the prophecy. Parker's interpretation and some views of the interpreters of the prophecy seem to align in this manner. According to this speculation, the catastrophic event prophesied could potentially occur by the end of 2025, with a figure akin to Peter making a significant appearance. Let's wait and see how events unfold. Well, that concludes today's story. Thank you, everyone. If you found today's topic or our channel interesting, please subscribe and follow.